college football team predictions and previews. We're going to preview 4 teams. We're going to predict 4 teams, not their game by game, but we're going to break down each game very quickly and kind of give you a record prediction. And we're also going to run through the team very quickly. I wanted to start off with the first one being a very good team, and that is Notre Dame. Notre Dame's the first one. It says number 2 on the screen. That was a hiccup, apparently. That's all on the producers. The producer is me. But nonetheless, Notre Dame is on here. We're going to talk about Notre Dame. The season kind of rides on C.J. Carr. If you kind of really think about it, C.J. Carr, it kind of determines the season. Like, Jeremiah Love's gone. Jadarian Price is gone. C.J. Carr is the driver. He's in the driver's seat of this Notre Dame team. He's driving the car, pun intended. But I got to say, this wide receiver room can really help him out. This is the underrated wide receiver room. When you look at it, they have Jordan Faison, who is a great wide receiver. He was there last year. They got Jaden Greathouse, who is another great wide receiver. I'm excited to see what he can do. I think he's been battling some injuries, but I think he'll be good to go when the season comes. And then Mylan Graham, another guy I'm excited for. And then you just throw in Quincy Porter Jr. from the transfer from Ohio State. So you have 4 solid wide receivers there, plus C.J. Carr. So their offense should be fine. They shouldn't miss a beat there. But I would say as record prediction and schedule, we're going to dive into that here. I actually have their schedule popping up on the screen here. This is their toughest games of the season. So they have not many tough games. I see like 2 losable games on their schedule. But I got to say, starting off with Wisconsin, that's their first game. Like, Wisconsin, Rice, and Michigan State and Purdue and North Carolina and Stanford are their first 6 games. And those are all winnable games. Like, none of those games are games that I would really say are like losses. So I would say they're going to probably start off 6-0. And then you hit BYU. BYU's an interesting one because BYU, I have mixed opinions on BYU because we're not sure what they're going to be. But I do know for a fact Notre Dame's going to be better than BYU. So give me like another win somewhere around in there. I don't see where they're going to hiccup in those first 7 games. Navy, I don't see a hiccup there. Now, where I see a hiccup is within the last 4 games. They have Miami, Boston College, SMU, and Syracuse. I see Miami and SMU as the 2 toughest games they're going to play. Miami's at home and SMU's at home. So the question becomes, do they lose one of those games? And I actually think they do. I think Notre Dame's record prediction for me is 11-1. I think they lose either the Miami or the SMU game. Now, we're not predicting games because I don't see a skill in that. Like, people predict games, but it's like, yes, there's fun in that, but I don't see a skill. I'm going to give you Miami or SMU as one of their losses, both at home, but I see both as potential losses. SMU with Kevin Jennings returning. Miami brings in Darian Mensah. I see potential losses there. So that is Notre Dame. Now we can jump into Ohio State, who I was going to have as number 1, but turns out they're number 2. Ohio State. They bring in, they keep Julian Sayin, Jeremiah Smith, and Bo Jackson. That's their big 3 on offense. That's their big 3 on offense. And I am very excited for it because when I look at those 3 guys, I see one of the better quarterbacks in college football in Julian Sayin. I see one of the better wide receivers in college football in Jeremiah Smith. Those are the 2 guys that Julian Sayin could argue for number 1 quarterback in the country. Jeremiah Smith is easily the number 1 wide receiver heading into 2026. Bo Jackson, I think, has potential to be a top 5 running back in college football. My question is, new offensive coordinator Arthur Smith. That's my question. And then another question is defensive unknowns. So they have Matt Patricia as defensive coordinator. He returns. So they have one brand new coordinator, and it is Arthur Smith at offensive coordinator. So I look at this team, and my biggest question, like I said, is defensive unknowns. But we'll get into their schedule in a second. It's pretty crazy, but we'll get into it in a second. I am really highly dependent on the development of Matt Patricia's defense and Ryan Day to develop that defense because I need them to have a good defense if they're going to have a good season. So I got to really put a lot of faith into those 2 coaches and that coaching staff as a whole. As we jump into their schedule, this is their toughest games. They got Ball State at home in week 1. We can all say that that's going to be a win. Texas, they go to Texas. Could they, drop a game there? That's 50-50 for me. They have Kent State, Illinois, Iowa, and Maryland. I could see them getting through that. But then this is where it gets tough. You got Indiana, USC, and Oregon all back-to-back. There's a bye week between Indiana and USC, but you got at Indiana and at USC in a span of 3 weeks. Then you got Oregon, right after USC at home, Northwestern, Nebraska, and Michigan at home. I have them listed here as 10-2 because I have them at 10-2. I do see a world where Ohio State goes 11-1, like where they're really, really good, and they beat Texas, and they beat Indiana, and they beat USC. Maybe they drop a game against Oregon and beat Michigan. I see a world, but that is a tough schedule. So I'm going to mark down 10-2 as Ohio State because of the fact that they have the toughest schedule in the entire country. Like, it's rated number 1 if you look it up. So give me 10-2, but I think best case for Ohio State is 11-1. Most likely is 10-2. All right, next team is Auburn. Auburn's a team that I wanted to jump into next. Auburn's interesting. Auburn's one that you could have kind of gone either way with in terms of them kind of popping off. And when I say popping off, I mean like 8 wins, or them kind of fizzling out and staying kind of towards where they've been, and that's 6-6. But I'm going to meet you in the middle. I'm going to go 7-5 as their best case, 6-6 as their most likely. Byron Brown returns, Alex Golish returns, or Byron Brown is coming in and Alex Golish are coming in. They're not returning. They're new, but they are coming in from the same school, USF. So quarterback coach combo is returning, and I think Byron Brown had Heisman-type numbers at USF. Now, does that translate to the SEC and Power 4 play? I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see. That's why it's a kind of an unknown team. But I'm not going to give them any unreal expectations for a team that has some question marks. So for Auburn's schedule, have their toughest games up here. I have Baylor at home, Southern Miss at home, Ford at home, and Vandy at home. I see them going either 3-1 or 2-2 in that stretch, because I see Baylor as a tough game, I see Ford as a tough game, and I see Vandy as a sneaky tough game. You have at Tennessee, at Georgia versus LSU, and at Ole Miss, all back to back. So that is tough. That is really, really tough. I see them dropping probably like 3 out of 4 of those games. You have Arkansas, Miss State, Samford, and at Alabama. I probably see them going 3-1 there. So I have them as 6-6, but I do see 7-5. I see if Byron Brown is really good, I do see 7-5. So again, Auburn, I don't want to give them unreal expectations as of right now. I mean, it is April 13th at the time of recording this. As we're going to jump into Florida State. This is the last team I wanted to talk about in this show. We'll hit 4 more teams on the Friday show. But I got to say, Florida State's an interesting one. Florida State is a big question mark. It's a big old fat question mark. And the reason they're a question mark is because there is kind of a phrase that's going around Florida State. And the phrase, in my opinion, is kind of they're just sitting around waiting for the inevitable. Like that's their MO right now, is waiting for the inevitable to happen. Because it's going to happen. Like, let's be honest, Mike Norvell has to pull off a really, really remarkable season to save his job. I mean, people could say 7-5, but 7-5, he's getting fired at 7-5. He might even get fired at 8-4. Like, it's just, if he's going to keep his job, we got to probably see a 9-3, 10-2. And that's at the very minimum, is like 9-3. But I have FSU. I mean, they got a new quarterback battle, first off. It's Kevin Sperry, it's Ashton Daniels. Ashton Daniels looks to be the front runner, but there's really no clear front runner yet. I would say if I had to guess, Ashton Daniels, but there's no clear one. Like, it looks to be Ashton Daniels, but Mike Norvell hasn't really give us, confirmed or even hinted at answer. As for Florida State's schedule, they got a decent one. They got New Mexico State at home week 1. That's a win. If it's a loss, Mike Norvell's fired, but I think it's a win. SMU, that's going to be a tough one. It's going to be a tough one for Florida State. SMU and Alabama back-to-back is going to be tough, especially going to Alabama. You got Central Arkansas, Virginia, Louisville. You got Louisville in there, sleeper team, by the way. Miami, Clemson, back-to-back, Boston College, and Pitt, NC State, and Florida. I have them at 6-6, but 7-5 is kind of where I'm right in between there. Like, if I was to make their over-under win total, I'd put it at 6.5, because I think 7-5 is in play, but I think 6-6 is in play. For Florida State fans, they're probably rooting for 6-6, so Mike Norvell can get fired as quick as possible, which I think, honestly, you might as well fire him quickly so you can get the coaching search started. But I think you shouldn't have fired last season. But hey, get the coaching search started, fire him early. That's my opinion, unless you somehow pull off a 10-2 season. but I don't see that coming. So for Florida State, give me 6-6. You could see an 8-4 if quarterback really works out, but I don't think quarterback's going to be like the biggest thing to write home about. So give me 6-6 for Florida State as of right now. You could see better, but you could also see worse. So Florida State at 6-6. That's where I like them right now. So that's my full four team previews and predictions as of right now. We'll do it again on the Friday show and keep going all the way probably until the summer. And then we'll get into more team deep dives, like really deep dives, and kind of get into playoff picture predictions and season predictions and all that stuff.